Hey there, everybody. Robert Taylor with Wonderscape Creations. In this episode, we are going to be going over the masks. Uh, in this example, we have slope masks, noise masks, height masks, and angle masks. But in my documentation that I have available for everyone to read up on, I also have area masks, noise mask, and noise mask. The edge mask is on every single one of my masks to give that you know, not straight line effect. So let's go ahead and get started here. Slope one, it's very straightforward here. This one is the biome one. So if I make some changes here, let's do this somewhere where there's dirt. Come in over here. We have all of these controls. If I change this to 9, grass is going to go up. So there's going to be even less dirt that is showing. That is completely and totally up to you how you do that. The sharpness and the bias work together so that you can get things as sharp as you would like. Now, generally speaking, this works ideally if you don't have an edge mask like I have, because then it speeds up or slows down the transition from one to the other. But regardless, I left it exposed. That way, people who want to utilize it can. So obviously, then we have the noise edge size. So if I go to 1, it's just going to change the texture on how it's tiling there to help give a natural feel. Look at that. I really like that. To your masks. So the contrast, if I hit 0 here, mask is going to go away. If I hit 0 on the intensity, now this is pretty much what it looks like without the mask. Is with intensity and contrast down to 0, it's as if you're getting the normal old transition. So you're able to utilize whichever method that you want with absolute ease. So if I bring these back up to 1 now, there we go. Obviously, if you want to, say, move this to 0.5, it softens it up even more. If I go to 0.5 again with the intensity, intensity is what really drives this, as you can see. Obviously, the transition is still there, but it is much less noticeable. So if I were to make this 0.8, there we go. Yeah. So now that we understand how the slopes work, we're going to go in with the procedural noise. The noise is this stuff right here. I've got patches of dirt all over the place, and that is simply controlled through this. So this uses the noise node that you can find in materials. So naturally, if I change the X to 10, you're going to see the spot move over to the right a little bit. If I were to go -10, it would go to the left a little bit. So the X and Y is just going to move things left, right, forward, and back. But obviously, if we go with Z, you'll see the shape change. Well, you won't see the shape change this time because I have everything so restricted. So let's go back to 1. Maybe if I go to 2. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, you're seeing the shape change ever so slightly. And that's all this is really for. Let me change the Y back to 0. And the Z back to 1. All right. And then everything else is just down to size. So I have it set to 1, but if I put it at 50. And now we go ahead and zoom on out here. We've got a giant noise patch here. And if we want to see more of them, I can just go ahead and change this negative and positive slider. We'll put the -1 to the negative slider to -1, positive slider to 1. So now we've got a whole bunch of patches everywhere. That's exactly how this thing works. And you already know how the contrast strength works. Well, not strength, contrast and intensity you are now familiar with. If I change this to 0.5, it's essentially just another way to modify the noise, and it gives different results depending on what you're doing. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back to 1. And as you can see, this is why I went with -2. And then 0.25. Significantly fewer. So next we will go over is the ever so important height. And we are going to be messing with Biome 3s. Biome 3 is this stuff right here. So as you can see right now, if we zoom on out, here's a good line that shows it. If I were to change the height to say -300, then what happens if I go 0? There we go. Oh, that would be why it looks like I was messing with the wrong one. I'm glad that I copied it. That is the desert, or the sand. So that's right, this one is biome 2, so if I go to -250, there we go. It went down, obviously. -150 to put it back. Excuse me. So I don't have it exposed in this one because I knew exactly how I wanted it, but obviously on the node, you can change the direction in which this mask goes, because this one will go up, this one will go down, and that is because of a bool. So again, the other options that we have here: variation size, and transition. If I go ahead and change this variation to say 1,000, you saw it wave a little bit. This variation controls how far the variation size can go. So to make it look ugly so that you understand what I'm saying, it's essentially just a bunch of circles, well, rounded squares, I should say, that are being utilized to create a wave. So if I put this at 3, it's still going to look fairly ugly. But if I were to change this back to 500, it doesn't look as bad. If I go to 250, it's even better. So that's essentially what it does. And then this transition, if I make it 0, all of a sudden looks awful. If I zoom it in and I change this back, I think it was 1,000. Yeah. As you can see right here, we have our noise mask. So that is how the height works. Last that we have is the angle, and that's the snow caps here. Now, it also has height, and we're not going to touch that whatsoever. What is different here is the angle contrast, and that is so that we can make certain sides of this, shall we say, more masked than the other. So what does this mean? Let's go ahead and change this to 0. Whole mask is gone. That's fine. 0.1. Still not going to see much. I'll go to 0.4 though. Where is it? Go back to 0.7 because I know that works. So let's go down. 0.6. 0.5. Now, you may be thinking, well, this is just like the slope one, except it does things a little differently. And generally, you'd be right. But now, I also have green. So if I make this a 1, I'm going to go extreme just so we can see it. Now you can see this side is covered, this side is not. So if I go with 0.3. This side is still greatly covered, while this side is not. And we see things like this all the time in nature. So I wanted to be able to utilize that. So I made it 100% possible. There we go. So that is everything that we're going to be going over with as far as the procedural stuff. And we will be going over the material layers specifically. See ya.